The rear now measures 105.14 millimeter. The front measures 97. Welcome to Big Sun Hobbies. During the 3 SCX24 E1's group rock crawling video, we tackled some steep crawls that were quite challenging even for decently modified 110 scale trucks.
I think I'm gonna tinker again, make it like bigger. The thickness of the bar. Yeah, these are a little thin.
If you haven't checked out that video, I'll put up a link to the video at the top right corner, so please go check it out. Although my SCX24 E1 did quite well, I noticed that with the longer wheelbase and the bigger RC4WD Scrambler tires, my SCX24 can benefit from wider track widths. This will help increase the stability over rough terrain as well as increase steering clearance to allow a wider selection of tire options. There are a few ways to go about it, but two options seem to stand out. First option is the Hot Racing plus 4mm steel drive stub axle set, part number SCX24E1, and runs for $12.99. Hot Racing adds 4mm track width on each side of the vehicle. The second option is Coda Racing's brass extended 7mm hex wheel hubs that also sells for $12.99. Coda Racing adds 5mm to the track width on each side of the vehicle. After careful consideration, I decided to go with the Hot Racing option 1 for the SCX24 E1. Although it increases the track width by 4mm on each side of the vehicle, 1mm less than the Coda Racing, I felt that it would be overall much more durable with the CNC machined hardened steel axle, and that it would be upgrades to the stock axles. So what's included? It includes two 40mm front drive axle, which are the shorter ones, two plus 4mm rear drive axles, which are the longer ones. It has 4 spacers, 4 shim, and 4 1.4mm times 4mm thin flathead screws. Remove the wheels before getting started. I'm going to start with the rear axle, as it's pretty simple to do. You remove 2 screws that is holding the rear drive axle. They will allow you to pull out the drive axle and the bearing. Here's the stock rear drive axle. Remove the pin and then the bearing, which will be used on the new drive axle. You can see the old and the new longer drive axle, which is a bit longer. I'm going to add a dab of oil and lightly coat the drive axle and the bearing, which should help protect it from the environment. Installing the new drive axle is pretty straightforward. Install the bearing onto the new drive shaft. Then add 2 shims. Then add the spacer and the pin. Insert them into the axle, and you can rotate it until you can feel it pop into place. You want to use the M1.4 times 4mm thin flathead screws to lock it down. You have a thinner head, which will make the clearance much better. Here's the one side done. Repeat on the other side. The rear now measures 105.14 millimeter. The front, as stock, measures 96.99. So basically you gain a 4 millimeter on each side, total of 8 millimeters in the width. Axle. Disassembling the front is pretty straightforward. Remove the wheel hex, remove the pin, loosen the 2 screws holding the front knuckle. And remove the knuckle, and you can pull out the front drive axle. In the old drive axle, there's an O-ring. Make sure to take that out, as you will have to reuse it. Here you can see the old front drive axle and then the new front drive axle. It is about 4 millimeters longer. Installing the front drive axle is the reverse process. One thing of note, there's a rubber O-ring. Make sure to put the rubber O-ring back. Also, don't over tighten any of the bolts, as they will bind if you do. Now repeat on the other side. Here's the front drive axle installed. Now install the tires and you're done. Here's the SCX24 E1 with the hot racing plus 4mm steel drive stub axle set installed. I'm really liking the wider stance. It gained 8mm width on each axle, and this will help increase stability. If you found today's information helpful, then please make sure to subscribe and click on the like button. Also make sure to click on the notification bell to be notified of future videos. Thanks for watching Bigs and Hobbies.